This rock is older than language itself, and it's the reason you're watching this video instead of something else being at the top of the food chain. 1.5 million years old, the first object ever deliberately shaped for a purpose that doesn't exist in nature. Not thrown, not a tool for building, a tool for killing and butchering. Its shape barely changed for over 1 million years, which tells you it was already close to perfect, a number that sounds fake but isn't. 1 million years unchanged, designed for a comment like, wait, really? But a rock only works up close. The next invention let humans kill from a distance for the first time ever. For the first time in history, a human could kill something faster and stronger than itself, without touching it. Turned humans from prey competitors into apex predators. Fire-hardened tips predate metal by hundreds of thousands of years. Cheap, easy to make, easy to teach. The AK-47 of prehistory. Contrast, the simplest weapon on this list is also the longest serving. It never stopped being used, all the way to WWI trenches. But throwing a spear by hand has a hard limit, so someone built a machine to break that limit. This is the first machine humans ever built, and it turned a human arm into a weapon 4 times more powerful. A lever that stores and releases energy, launching a dart at 80+ miles per hour instead of 20. Predates the bow by tens of thousands of years, still used competitively and by some indigenous hunters today. This is a machine. Leverage, stored energy, release mechanism, same physics as a trebuchet, just held in one hand. But even this had a problem, range. The next weapon solved range completely, and it's still an Olympic sport. A Mongol composite bow could kill you from farther away than an English longbow, using a bow a third of the size. Composite bows layered horn, wood, and sinew to store more energy in a smaller frame, turned archery into a portable, mounted, mass-produced weapon system. Range arms race across Egypt, Assyria, and eventually the Mongol Empire. Specific number, nearly 100 yards of extra range from a bow a third the size. An arrow kills one person. The next weapon on this list was built to be cheap enough to kill by the hundred. Roman military manuals rated this weapon as more dangerous than a bow, and you can make one out of a shoelace. A leather pouch in 2 cords stores rotational energy instead of tension. Silent, nearly free to produce, devastating at range in trained hands. Roman and Greek slingers were feared specialists, not an afterthought. The myth bust. This is not a toy weapon. It's a documented battlefield killer. But what if you wanted a spear that couldn't be thrown back at you? Rome solved that too. Rome designed a spear to break on purpose, and that one design choice helped build an empire. The Pilum bent on impact, so the enemy couldn't pick it up and throw it back. It also punched through shields and stuck there, making the shield useless mid-battle. A weapon engineered around what happens after it hits, not just the hit itself. This is a weapon designed for its failure mode. Bending was the feature, not a flaw. But none of this works if you're fighting alone. The next weapon only worked as a wall. This shield didn't protect the man holding it. It protected the man standing next to him. The Greek Aspis covered half of your body and half of your neighbor's. The Dory spear only worked because the formation never broke. A weapon system built entirely around trust in the man next to you. This is the battle that was won before it started. A solid phalanx just doesn't lose to a broken one. Alexander the Great looked at this formation and made one change that made it almost unbeatable. Imagine a wall of spears 18 feet long. Now imagine trying to charge it on a horse. Alexander's Sarissa was nearly 3 times longer than the standard Greek spear. Created a hedge of spear points 5 ranks deep. Cavalry simply couldn't reach the actual soldiers. Traded individual mobility for collective, terrifying reach. The visual, 5 layers of spear tips before you even reach a person. Rome looked at this wall of spears and decided the answer wasn't a longer weapon. It was a completely different kind of fighting. Everyone assumes this sword was for slashing. It wasn't. And that one misconception hides why Rome conquered the Mediterranean. Short, double-edged, designed primarily for stabbing in tight formation. Paired with a large shield, scutum, it let Rome fight in a tighter, more flexible formation than a phalanx. Individual lethality instead of wall lethality, the opposite bet from the Sarissa. Myth bust delivered as a payoff, not just a fact drop. But formations only work in open ground. What happens when the enemy is hiding behind a 40-foot wall? Walls stopped armies for centuries, until someone realized you don't need to be clever, you just need to hit something harder than it can take. The oldest siege weapon, a reinforced beam, sometimes capped in metal, swung or driven into gates and walls, forced defenders to redesign walls with angles and layers specifically to defeat it. Simple physics. Sustained force beats a static barrier eventually. This is the reason ancient walls aren't flat. The ram is why they got angled. But why hit a wall by hand when you can build a machine to throw a rock through it from a distance? This is a crossbow scaled up until it could kill a soldier through his shield from across a battlefield. Torsion-powered, using twisted rope or sinew bundles instead of a simple bow arc, could fire large bolts with enough force to punch through shields and armor at range. Essentially industrialize the same physics as the personal bow. Same idea as the composite bow from earlier, just scaled up to machine size. But bolts only hurt one person. The next machine was built to level a wall from 100 yards away. This machine could throw a rock the size of a person over a wall and into a city, from far enough away that defenders couldn't shoot back. Torsion-powered catapult, named for its kick, like a wild donkey when it fired, used to break fortifications and terrorize defenders inside the walls, not just soldiers on the field. Predecessor to the trebuchet, which wouldn't appear until centuries later. Brief, clearly labeled note that the trebuchet is a later, medieval evolution of this idea, not part of the ancient set, but worth naming as what came next. But the most terrifying ancient weapon wasn't a machine at all. It was a substance nobody could put out. This weapon burned on water. To this day, nobody has fully reconstructed the original formula. An incendiary weapon used by the Byzantine Empire, reportedly capable of continuing to burn even on the surface of water. The exact recipe was a closely guarded state secret, and it was lost to history. Functioned as much as a psychological weapon as a physical one. Its reputation alone caused panic. Genuine unsolved mystery hook. This is one of the few entries where "we don't fully know" is the most compelling fact. Every weapon so far assumes you're fighting on foot. Put a weapon on a horse, and the entire battlefield changes. This weapon terrified entire empires for centuries, then became almost useless in a single generation. Fast, mobile firing platforms for archers in the Bronze Age, Egypt, the Hittites, the Near East, devastating against infantry that had no answer to speed and mobility, became obsolete almost overnight once heavier, more capable cavalry emerged. A rare case of a dominant weapon collapsing fast instead of fading slowly. The twist. Most weapons on this list evolve gradually. This one just got replaced. But chariots needed flat ground and a driver. The final weapon on this list needed neither, just a rider and one of the deadliest weapons combos ever assembled. This isn't a weapon. It's a piece of metal you put your foot in, and it changed warfare more than almost anything on this list. Before reliable stirrups, riders struggled to deliver a stable strike without risking being thrown off. The stirrup let a rider brace, turning a horse into a stable platform for a lance, sword, or bow. Its slow, late arrival in some regions limited how effective ancient shock cavalry could be for centuries. The reframe. Not every weapon on this list is a weapon. Some are the thing that made a weapon actually usable. Now put a bow, the composite one from earlier, on a horse with a stirrup. That's not a battlefield anymore.